Hello, tutors. We do tutor training with you at various times throughout the year and try to prepare you for as many of the different scenarios that you encounter as you tutor students in our labs and individually. However, we also do find that there's lots of different scenarios and lots of different students. And so you learn a lot by just tutoring on the job. So, as our seniors are graduating soon, we wanted to catch each one and try to glean from them some tips and wisdom to pass on to you. So enjoy these clips from our seniors as they share their tips and wisdom.
The biggest way that I've grown since when I started tutoring was learning to prepare before my tutoring sessions. So I normally take like 5-10 minutes just before my session, or even at the beginning of the session if no students have come, to just look over what material the students are going to be working on. And that gives me a chance to anticipate what questions they might ask, as well as just remind myself how to do that type of material.
Over time, I've developed different ways to find ways to process and communicate ideas, both for the tutor and the student. And yeah, this could be done like by verbally walking through a problem. Like the student could do that, and that would help them process the problem a little bit and give you an idea of what they know, what they don't know, catch some mistakes. Maybe there's they missed a conceptual understanding, or they made just tiny little errors, or maybe they misunderstood the problem in the first place. You could also incorporate imagery. Could draw on a whiteboard, or if you're not as artistically inclined like me, I like to just be aware of all of the resources around the room. You could use stacks of markers, move them around, play with a sheet of paper, or refer to people around the room whenever it comes to a word problem with people in it.
I would just say like connecting with the course load, getting to know the students a lot, and making connections with them really helped me figure out like their needs and how I could help them in that. And then just growing in patience really helped me a lot to become a better tutor, and like walking alongside those students as they struggled, and being okay with that. Like, it's okay for them to struggle, and sitting there with them.
Some things that I've done to strengthen my tutoring skills are just reviewing with the professors or reviewing with some of the students. A lot of it has been working directly with the students, asking them where they are at in the course, and just making connections with them in that way. One way that I have really grown as a tutor is just asking more questions for the students and just seeing what is actually going on, because I know it's been a while for me for the courses. So just being able to ask questions and know that you don't have to be the person with all of the answers has been really helpful for me.
I think one of the main ways I've grown as a tutor is just knowing that it's okay to not have the full answer right away, and it's okay to work with students through it. When I first started as a tutor, I think I always was really anxious, wanting to have the perfect answer right away and some really nice solution laid out for them, but just learning, getting some confidence and knowing that it's okay to work through it with them, and they'll be a good resource for you too, the students. And so that's probably the main way I've grown.
I think one of the biggest challenges is whenever you have someone come into, say, math lab or CS lab, everybody has a different learning style and a different way of going about math. People have varying degrees of their experience in math, how comfortable they are in math. And so one of the toughest things is engaging people where they're at. And the thing I've found over however many years I've been doing this now, is if you can invite a lot of different voices, or invite other tutors over, or group them with people, or get them collaborating with people, they're able to learn however they might need to learn. So if you're just one-on-one, the challenge is trying to adapt to however they need to learn. But if you can get them in a scenario where they can learn together with people, then I think that's something that like I've really learned that is helpful over my time.
It takes a lot of time to become a good tutor, and so just sit in that and lean into that and know that you're going to struggle at first, just like the students are struggling. But just looking up to the lead tutors and the tutors around you and growing with them, that really helped me as a new tutor.
I wish I had known that it was okay not to know everything. I think the expectation is coming in that you're supposed to have a handle on everything in your course, and you feel weird saying, oh, I'm not sure on this problem, or I don't know how to go about this. And I wish I knew that it was okay to not know everything. And I think that gets tossed around a bit, but I really wish tutors would know that it's okay to say, I'm not sure on this problem, or invite another tutor in as well to help them, because what that does is it puts them and the student on more of like an equal footing. The student feels way more comfortable actually when a tutor says, I don't actually know how to do this, because I mean, they feel validated in how difficult the subject matter is that they're working through. It makes the tutor seem way more approachable and comfortable to be around. So I wish that I knew that it was okay to not know how to do everything.
Just how much you can rely on other your coworkers and the other people working in Math Lab, and that you can go to them with questions, ask them about problems or good ways to explain a solution. Even if you feel like you understand a concept, sometimes it's helpful to hear the ways another person explains it, and just get that different viewpoint.
One thing I wish I had known as a new tutor was that I can ask questions to the other tutors. I don't have to know all of the answers, and just really relying on the students as well, asking them what they already know and bringing that information out. That's been super helpful, and just being able to lean on the other tutors has been really, really a great thing in building that community with the other tutors.
I wish I had known that nobody ever says no to the question, do you understand something? Like every time I've asked that question, the student says yes. And that can happen even if they don't actually understand the material. And so I found it's much more useful to ask them, like, can you walk me through your thought process on some section of what they've been working on? And that way you can get an honest picture of how much they understand the material.
Just remembering that I don't have to know everything. And yeah, when you do that, it's like the students would appreciate when you're honest about it. Just admit it. And as you admit it, tell them, you know what, I'm going to try my best. We're going to walk through this together. And this is just a great time to start incorporating strategies that you've been using that brought you into tutoring. Maybe it's dividing a problem into smaller parts, or drawing pictures, underlining keywords, going back to practice problems and past notes and stuff like that. And if you're really stuck, please don't be afraid to ask for help from other tutors, and even other students as well who have done this problem before or are working on that same problem. But yeah, just remember it's we're all a team, and we're all students. We're all learning together. Just enjoy the process, and it's usually those times where we learn the most and really build those solid relationships.
My biggest tip would be just to be friendly with everybody in the room, whether it's the other tutors or the students. Just get to know them as people and try to diminish that gap between students and tutors. And that way you can have a lot easier time helping them, and it'll be more enjoyable for everybody involved. At
this point, you've probably become comfortable with the content you're teaching and the environment you're in, Math Lab, CS Lab. Just remember to put yourselves in the students' shoes, especially for those new students. It would help to rewind back and think of what you were expecting, what you learned, and what was like really a big takeaway when you first visited Math Lab or CS Lab, and apply that to how you deal with the students, with how you relate to them. As they enter the room, acknowledge them, for example. Say hi to make them feel like they're part of the room right away. And starting the conversation not on the content, but on just the simple things like, oh, how are you? How's your day? Stuff like that.
I would say something that took me a while to figure out is in downtime or in slow times, when a student has come in but they maybe don't have questions right away, to just ask them what they're working on and maybe just read through that chapter and kind of refresh yourself a little bit. It helps a lot then when they finally do ask a question to be able to just hit the ground running with them rather than maybe reviewing the chapter to learn the concept again yourself. So just being active even in slow times makes the job a lot easier.
I would just say enjoy it, have fun with it. You're serving your students, and so walk alongside them and other tutors in that, and know that have fun. Walk into it knowing that you're serving people and that you're doing God's work. Look around the atmosphere that's around you and learn in it. It makes you a better person, a better tutor, and you have a lot more fun. So I would just say really have fun with it. That's why I enjoyed tutoring so much.
A tip that I have for current tutors is just to be yourself and build relationships with the students. They are students first and foremost, but they're also people. So building relationships with them, having fun with them, making sure that the environment that they're in is a good environment. It can be kind of stressful to come into math lab and not know what you're doing. And so just really being there for students to kind of calm them down and just talk about how life is going in general is something that is really helpful too.
I think my biggest tip or my biggest challenge would be learn how to be a humble tutor. The thing that brings people in to say math lab or CS lab is that they need help or that they might need answers checked. But what consistently brings back students is people who can be approachable and humble about the subject matter that they're teaching. If there's just this disconnect between the tutor and the student where it's kind of this rickety, you give me answers or help, but I don't feel very comfortable around you, then they might find a different way to go about learning or try to find different ways. So building relationships with your students and being humble and being approachable is probably the biggest thing for students. If they feel like they're talking to this far off math god that knows everything about the course, then it's tough for students. I've seen students who have teared up in math lab. I've seen students who have had their panicky moments, and if you can meet them where they're at and meet them at the math that they're comfortable at, then that goes a long way.